The United States and Canada share the world's longest undefended border, a testament to a mostly peaceful, mutually beneficial relationship that has endured for centuries. Stretching over 5,500 miles, this border is more than just a line on a map. It's a symbol of trust, cooperation, and shared history between two neighboring nations. Every single day, billions of dollars in goods and services cross that border, fueling both economies and supporting millions of jobs. From auto parts and fresh produce to energy and technology, the flow of trade is constant and vital, making the U.S.-Canada economic partnership one of the largest in the world. But it's not always smooth sailing. Even the closest of neighbors can have their disagreements, and the U.S. and Canada are no exception. There have been spats, sometimes heated, over issues like softwood lumber, dairy quotas, and fishing rights. And of course, there's the light-hearted rivalry over who has the better-looking moose or the tastier maple syrup. These disputes, both serious and silly, are part of what makes the relationship dynamic and at times unpredictable. Yet, despite these occasional tensions, the two countries always seem to find a way to work things out. At the end of the day, we need each other, economically, culturally, and even emotionally. Our histories are intertwined, and our futures are linked. Canada is often seen as America's polite, slightly healthier sibling. And like any siblings, things can get petty fast, whether it's about hockey, healthcare, or who gets to claim the latest pop star as their own. Especially when one suddenly decides the other owes them money for just passing through, or when new fees and regulations pop up unexpectedly, causing confusion and frustration on both sides. Over $2 billion in trade crosses that border every single day, supporting not just big corporations but also small businesses, farmers, and families who rely on cross-border commerce. This economic partnership usually works smoothly, benefiting businesses and people on both sides. Border towns thrive on this exchange, and many families have members living and working in both countries. But even the strongest partnerships can hit rocky patches, especially when surprise tariffs or new trade barriers show up. These can disrupt supply chains, raise prices, and create uncertainty for everyone involved. This isn't a feud between strangers, it's more like a family squabble, with real economic consequences that ripple through both nations. Disagreements can get heated, but there's always an underlying sense of connection. And like many family fights, it often starts with one side doing something daft, imposing a new rule or making a bold statement, then acting surprised when the other gets upset. But more often than not, cooler heads prevail and compromise is found. Which brings us to the architect of some truly spectacular international daftness. Enter the Trump administration. Scene transition. The Trump administration's America First policy meant tariffs, taxes on imported goods, supposedly to protect U.S. industries. The logic? Canadian steel and aluminum were suddenly a national security threat. Never mind that Canada is a close ally, defending North American airspace with the U.S. The real reasons were likely political, but the result was clear. Canada got hit hard. 25% tariffs on steel, 10% on aluminum. Imagine your best friend suddenly charging you a huge fee to borrow their lawnmower. Canada was, understandably, not amused. Prime Minister Trudeau promised retaliation dollar-for-dollar tariffs on American goods. Ketchup, bourbon, lawnmowers, even playing cards. It was a messy economic food fight with billions at stake, but Canada wasn't done yet. After years of U.S. tariffs and mounting trade disputes, Canada decided it was time to get creative, and a little bit bold. In early 2025, British Columbia rolled out a new policy: toll booths on every major highway leading to and from Alaska. But these weren't just any tolls. They specifically targeted vehicles with U.S. license plates, making it clear who the intended audience was. Now, if you're an American driving through BC on your way to Alaska, you're facing a hefty new fee. Commercial trucks hauling goods, families packed for summer adventures, retirees in their RVs. If your vehicle is registered in the U.S., you're paying up, no exceptions. Even tourists just passing through for a scenic drive found themselves caught in the net. Canadian officials claimed the tolls were necessary to cover the rising costs of maintaining highways and to address what they called ongoing trade imbalances with the U.S. But the timing of the announcement, right after another round of U.S. tariffs, made it obvious. This was targeted retaliation, a direct response to American trade actions. And these tolls weren't just a minor inconvenience. For a standard car, the fee was $75 each way. For commercial trucks, the cost soared into the hundreds, making cross-border business much more expensive. For many travelers, it was a rude and unexpected surprise. Imagine budgeting for a family road trip only to be hit with a massive toll at the border. The message from Canada was loud and clear. Trade actions have real-world consequences, and now, ordinary Americans would feel them directly in their wallets. It was a clever, pointed move, making everyday U.S. citizens pay the price for their government's trade policies and sparking plenty of debate on both sides of the border. But who really felt the sting the most? Was it the truckers, the tourists, or the retirees chasing adventure? Scene transition. Let's dive deeper and talk about the real impact of BC's border toll bonanza. Alaskans felt the tolls first and hardest. The Alaska Highway isn't just a scenic route, it's a lifeline for families, businesses, and the military. Suddenly, essential travel came with a steep new cost. For some, it was a genuine financial burden. Businesses shipping goods to and from Alaska faced higher costs, which trickled down to consumers. Tourism took a hit as road trippers reconsidered the journey. Truckers and retailers faced tough choices: absorb the cost or pass it on. It was a classic case of political decisions creating real problems for ordinary people. But where was all that toll money going? Scene transition. Canada said the toll revenue would fund highway maintenance and improvements, but the broader context was obvious. This was also about recouping losses from U.S. tariffs. The tolls sent a pointed message: international trade actions have personal consequences. Canada could have taxed all U.S. goods, but this targeted approach made the pain personal and visible. Some funds might even support Canadian industries hurt by U.S. tariffs. Officially, it's about roads. Unofficially, it's about payback. For Alaskans, the tolls felt like a direct hit. Scene transition. How did Alaskans react? Let's find out. Alaskans' reactions ranged from furious to grudgingly understanding. Many felt like innocent pawns, forced to pay for a trade war they didn't start. For some, it was a direct, unfair hit on their way of life. Others, though frustrated, understood Canada's position, blaming the U.S. government for starting the tariff fight. The state was divided. Some demanded action and relief, others saw it as the inevitable result of bad policy. Calls for boycotts surfaced, but with Alaska's reliance on Canadian routes, options were limited. The issue was messy, emotional, and divisive, leaving Alaskans feeling caught in the crossfire. So what's being done about it? Scene transition. Let's look at the road ahead. Alaskans didn't just accept the tolls, they protested, lobbied, and demanded relief. Across the state, communities came together, organizing rallies and making their voices heard at the border. The frustration was palpable as families, truckers, and business owners all stood united, determined to push back against what they saw as unfair treatment. Politicians promised action, pressing both Washington and Ottawa for solutions. Elected officials from both sides of the border held press conferences assuring the public that they were working tirelessly to resolve the dispute. Behind closed doors, negotiations intensified, with leaders seeking a breakthrough that would ease tensions and restore normalcy. Legal challenges were discussed, but the path forward was murky. Lawyers debated possible lawsuits and international trade complaints, but the legal process was slow and uncertain, leaving many wondering if justice would ever come. The U.S. federal government, under new leadership, monitored the situation but offered little immediate help. While officials expressed concern, concrete action was slow, and Alaskans felt caught in the middle of a much larger political game. The real solution addressed the root cause: U.S. tariffs on Canadian goods. These tariffs had triggered a chain reaction, leading directly to the tolls that now burdened everyday travelers and businesses. If tariffs are rolled back, Canada might drop the tolls. It's a simple equation. Remove the economic barriers and the extra costs at the border could vanish just as quickly as they appeared. It's basic diplomacy. Stop the economic punches and both sides can move forward. Negotiation and compromise are the only way out of this standoff. And history shows that when the U.S. and Canada work together, solutions are possible, and the tolls might disappear. Imagine the relief for drivers, families, and businesses finally able to cross the border freely again without the shadow of extra fees. This saga is a real-world lesson in how international decisions impact everyday lives. What happens in government offices and diplomatic meetings can ripple out, affecting the daily routines and wallets of ordinary people. When neighbors fight, it's ordinary people who pay the price. The frustration, the delays, and the unexpected costs all fall hardest on those just trying to get by. The US and Canada are deeply linked. Cooperation matters. Our economies, families, and futures are intertwined, and working together is the only way to ensure prosperity on both sides of the border. Because when political elephants fight, it's the grass, Alaskan motorists, that gets trampled. The big decisions made far away can crush the hopes and budgets of those on the ground. And nobody wants to be trampled grass, especially if you have to pay for it. In the end, it's a reminder that international cooperation isn't just about politics, it's about people and the roads they travel every day.